Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Kiev. Zelensky during the previous night made lots of very important statements. He said that the documents on security guarantees is 100% ready. We are waiting for a signal from the United States regarding the date and place of signing. Also, Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine will under no circumstances surrender its territory to Russia. Zelensky said following talks in Abu Dhabi. He announced the readiness of a draft bilateral agreement on security guarantees between Kiev and Washington. We are awaiting our partners to agree on the date and place where this document will be signed. Then this document must be ratified in the US Congress and the Verkhovna Rada. The second security guarantee, according to him, is European Union membership and assistance to the coalition of the willing. Zelensky said nothing about readiness of these agreements. He stated that Ukraine will under no circumstances surrender its territory to Russia. A compromise must be sought. It was previously reported that during the talks in Abu Dhabi, the US refused to provide military guarantees to European troops if they were to enter Ukraine after the end of the war. Meanwhile, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the territory of Ukraine with drones, and according to pro-Ukrainian sources during the previous night, 138 drones were recorded in the sky of Ukraine, and Ukrainians are saying that as a result of air defense they managed to bring down 110. The Russians continued bombing and attacking objects of energy infrastructure, and we have a lot of very interesting updates about the situation in this sector. In Kiev, people have started setting up tent camps right in the country yards of multi-story buildings so that the Ukrainians don't freeze in their apartments. Another important thing is that this week has become one of the most difficult for the Ukrainian energy sector since 2022 blackout after two combined attacks on January 20th and 23rd against the backdrop of severe frost and damage from previously shelling. The power system experienced an extraordinary load. At the same time, up to 85% of consumers remained without electricity after the first attack. By the end of the week, 60% had already been powered. According to the Prime Minister, mobile operators will provide backup power to base stations so that Ukrainians stay connected even during long outages. So the situation remains tense. At the same time, the Russians also made lots of very important statements. The Russians stated that Russia rejects any initiatives that goes beyond its full control over Donbas, write the New York Times. According to the publication, at the negotiations in the United Arab Emirates, American and Ukrainian delegations discussed the possible deployment of neutral forces as peacekeepers in part of Donetsk region or the formation of a demilitarized zone. However, Russia allegedly rejects everything that contradicts the agreement reached between Trump and Putin at the summit in Alaska last summer, which includes the complete withdrawal of the armed forces of Ukraine from the territory of Donbas and the non-deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine. So all these things, all these signals are telling us just about one thing, that the conflict in Ukraine will continue. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the northeastern part of Kharkiv region. During the previous days, the Russians managed to improve their positions in the most northeastern part of the Kharkiv region. Here we can see a video published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russian soldiers that were moving through the territory of the village by the name of Nisterna. So several attacks took place right exactly at this point, and based on this video we came to the conclusion that the armed forces of the Russian Federation began assault operation on the village of Nisterna. Currently there are very heavy clashes, and according to information we have, the Ukrainians don't have lots of forces in this area, and they try to repel Russian attacks just with drones. Another important video is coming from the Kupyansk direction. In this video we can see how the Russians, as a result of objective control, managed to discover a storage facility of the armed forces of Ukraine at Guskino railway station, and as a result of several attacks the Russians destroyed this warehouse and this ammo depot. The Ukrainians were using this ammo depot, this warehouse, with the purpose to storage drones that later the Ukrainians were planning to use for several operations on the territory of the city of Kupyansk itself. As for the city of Kupyansk, the situation remains tense, and during the previous night, pro-Ukrainian sources published this video, and here we can see this video shows a detailed drone fly over the city center. The footage mainly features areas with dense high-rise buildings and urban infrastructure from above. This is the city of Kupyansk, Kharkiv region. I would like to remind you that there are still very heavy clashes, and as we can see, neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians have enough of forces, have enough of power to finish the battle for the city itself. There are still clashes, but we see that neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians are able to move further. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Slaviansk direction. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded. We have adjusted the southeastern part of the settlement of Liman based on the video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians managed to discover positions of the armored forces of the Russian Federation in this area, and then Ukrainians began bombing and attacking Russians right exactly at this point. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that the Russians once again entered the city of Liman, and the Russians are trying to advance further in the direction of the central part of the city. So currently the clashes are taking place for the southern citadel of the city Liman and the southeastern part of the settlement. The Russians continue advancing. At the same time, the Russians are trying to cut the contingent of the armored forces of Ukraine on the territory of the city Liman from the logistics. In this video, we can see how the Russians were flying over another pontoon bridge that was established by the Ukrainians in this area, and when the Russians discovered that Ukrainians managed to repair or to restore this, let's say, pontoon bridge, the Russians attacked this territory with aviation or with missile. And here we can see the consequence of attack. As you can see, the bridge was completely destroyed, and now once again the Ukrainians need some time to restore this territory, to repair the bridge and to restore the logistic with the city of Liman. At the same time, the Russians continue offensive operation on the triangle of Krivaya Luka, Kaleniki, Riznikovka. There are very heavy clashes. The Ukrainians are sending more and more forces to stabilize the front line. The Russians from their side are attacking this territory with drones. The Russians have deployed a lot of FPV drone crews with the purpose to establish complete control. As you can see, this is the strongest defense belt of the armored forces of Ukraine to the east of the city of Slaviansk. And as you can see, the pace of the Russian offensive operation in this area was significantly lowered. Furthermore, we have small changes to the west of Zvanovka, to the west of the village of Bakhmutka. We have a video confirming Russian control over this huge forest, and we have a report according to pro-Russian sources. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly along the MO3 road. So the Russians, as we can see, continue offensive operation, and we are waiting that in coming days the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm complete control over the villages of Minkovka, Golubovka. So it seems that in coming days the Russians will establish complete control over the territory between the Siversk Donetsk Donbass Canal and the settlement of Nikiforovka. So we are talking about this pocket. As for the city of Kostyantynivka, during the previous 12 hours, nothing special was recorded. The most important thing is that Russians continue attacking the logistic and the main supply lines that go in the direction of the city of Kostyantynivka. The Ukrainians, due to the fact that they don't have any other option how to support their contingent of the territory of Kostyantynivka, continue sending more and more troops, forces, vehicles using these roads, and the Russians are trying to destroy everything that is moving in the direction of the city. So here we can see another vehicle that was moving towards the city that was attacked by FPV drone. Here we can see almost the same story. Another vehicle of the armored forces of Ukraine were moving in the direction of the city of Kostyantynivka, but was attacked by the Russian drone. And here we can see FPV drone strikes on the territory of the city of Kostyantynivka itself. But as of this video, we can see not just vehicles, but also Ukrainian infantry that was trying to hide behind this building, but they were also attacked. So as for the line of combat contact, the Russians during the previous 12 hours haven't managed to improve their positions. There are still heavy clashes along the, let's say, line of combat contact along the city border of the city limits of the city. Meanwhile, the Russians are trying to improve their positions in the direction of the settlement of Drushkovka. This morning, several pro-Russian sources stated that as a result of clashes, the Russians improved their positions and the Russians are about to establish complete control over the settlement settlement by the name of Toretsk. So there are lots of strongholds, as you can see, that the Russians are trying to capture, and these strongholds could serve as a very powerful base before moving forward in the northeastern direction. So there are very heavy clashes, and as we can see, the Russians improve their positions and they continue offensive operation further. As for the Dobropolye direction, nothing during the night. As for the Dnipropetrovsk direction, nothing during the night. As for the Zaporozhye direction, nothing during the previous night. Another important topic is that the United States of America continue massive build-up in the around Iran. During the previous 24 hours, during the previous night, we received a lot of reports that the United States of America continue sending more and more forces in this region. Map shows the scale of the US military build-up around Iran, fighter jets, tankers, AWACS, and carrier air wings positioned across Europe and the Middle East. But the most important build-up, the most important piece of news is that the U.S. aircraft carrier group led by the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln has arrived in the Middle East, according to the Israeli Channel 13. So everything is about to be ready. But we need to understand that most likely if there is, let's say, conflict is possible, this conflict will differ from the conflict that we saw during the summer of 2025. Because according to information we have, we still haven't received anything about the topic on the matter whether the United States of America is planning or have already deployed B-2 bombers. So most likely we're going to see completely two different operations. We're talking about the late winter operation of 2026 in comparison with the summer operation of 2025. Most likely we're going to see something else. But at the same time, the United States of America continue its massive buildup. They're sending more and more aircrafts. They're sending more and more ships, more and more troops in this region. So something might happen. Satellite imagery from Salman Port shows the deployment of U.S. destroyers in Bahrain. Satellite images released from Salman Port in Bahrain indicates that two U.S. Navy Al-Raid Berg class destroyers are docked at the port. In addition to these two destroyers, 3 Independence class littoral combat ships along with support vessels are also moored at Salman Port. So the build-up, massive build-up is ongoing. The question is when this build-up is going to be finished and when the US is going to start another special operation in this region, or if they're planning to do this. But the situation with Venezuela and the previous Iran conflict of the summer of 2025 indicates that most likely something big is going to happen. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.